No, again. The funny thing about playing Guess the Ethnicity is that it works very well with good news, as well as when reading about some bizarre crime. Three articles in particular caught my attention lately. Two of them good news, and the other not quite so much so. Before going any further, it should hardly be necessary for me to assure viewers that I am not possessed of any psychic ability. This is not one of those tricks like guessing the contents of a sealed envelope in order to demonstrate ESP or something of that kind. These incidents are just part and parcel of my life, and I rather suspect are a regular feature in the lives of many other honest people who do not pretend to be colour blind or ethnicity blind. Let me start with an easy one. In the paper this morning, the Daily Telegraph, needless to say, was an article headed Teenager with higher IQ than Stephen Hawking has 23 A-levels. Now that's an easy one. No white British parents are that competitive to facilitate such overachievement. And, well, I won't even go into the fact that cognitive ability is not evenly distributed throughout ethnic groups. But this is a teenager who has to be from an Asian family. Chinese is possible, but statistically there are far more Indians than there are Chinese in Britain. So this has to be a young person of Indian heritage. So it proves. The name is Manua Chima. Yesterday, we learned that a 10-year-old girl became the youngest ever to gain the female international master chess title. That is without doubt somebody from an Indian family. Chess is hugely popular anyway among Indian children, and most children's chess clubs in big cities attract Indian players. Both of these were very easy to guess, and I rather think that anybody with a knowledge of the proportions of various ethnic groups in Britain would be able to guess those two without much difficulty. Here is one which is slightly more tricky. A 14-year-old girl with an eating disorder and prone to self-harming was being held in a psychiatric intensive care unit and had to be under constant observation to prevent herself from uh, harming or doing anything foolish. An agency worker arrived for his first ever shift in a psychiatric unit, and of course, he duly left her alone. She self harmed and died of it. It transpired that the agency worker was using a false name and had never worked in a psychiatric unit before. He fled the country before anybody could ask him any difficult questions. What ethnicity do viewers think? There might initially be a temptation to guess Filipino, but my instinct veered towards West African. On reading the piece, I found that he was Ghanaian. This was slightly surprising. I would have thought Nigerian, but West Africa was close enough. I shall incidentally be doing a video devoted to the scandal of West African care workers shortly, because it is growing to be a very worrying situation for anybody whose elderly relatives are in care homes or have children with learning difficulties. The question I suppose that we might ask ourselves is why is it that so many of us play this game privately, occasionally sharing the fun with our wives, so that you will never see it mentioned anywhere except here? It might be, I suppose, because it is considered more respectable to pretend that it is impossible to guess that somebody with 23 A-levels will be either Indian or Chinese. Surely there's just as much chance they will be from a Jamaican or Bangladeshi family. How can we make any assumptions in that way? These are people who live in a fairy tale world where they can preserve their illusions and pretend that all humanity is equally endowed with determination, desire to succeed, raw intelligence, height, physical strength, and so on. In such a world, everybody is equally likely to be a top-class footballer or basketball player, just as they are also just as likely to gain 23 A levels or be a chess champion. For the rest of us, much of the world falls into easily recognizable patterns, and recognizing those patterns can be pretty handy for our very survival, not just for a parlor game like Guess the Ethnicity.